right turn. But the girls only burst out laughing. Sun Tzu said, if words of command are not clear and distinct, if orders are not thoroughly understood, then the general is to blame. So he started drilling them again, and this time gave the order, left turn, whereupon the girls once more burst into fits of laughter. Sun Tzu said, if words of command are not clear and distinct, if orders are not thoroughly understood, the general is to blame. But if his orders are clear, and the soldiers nevertheless disobey, then it is the fault of their officers. So saying, he ordered the leaders of the two companies to be beheaded. Now the king of Wu was watching the scene from the top of a raised pavilion, and when he saw that his favorite concubines were about to be executed, he was greatly alarmed, and hurriedly sent down the following message. We are now quite satisfied as to our general's ability to handle troops. If we are bereft of these two concubines, our meat and drink will lose their savor. It is our wish that they shall not be beheaded. Sun Tzu replied, having once received His Majesty's commission to be general of his forces, there are certain commands of His Majesty which, acting in that capacity, I am unable to accept. Accordingly, he had the two leaders beheaded, and straightway installed the pair next in order as leaders in their place. When this had been done, the drum was sounded for the drill once more, and this time the girls went through all the motions, turning to the right or to the left, marching ahead or wheeling back, kneeling or standing, with perfect accuracy and precision, not venturing to utter a sound. Then Sun Tzu sent a messenger to the king, saying, your soldiers, sire, are now properly drilled and disciplined, and ready for your majesty's inspection. They can be put to any use that their sovereign may desire. Bid them go through fire and water, and they will not disobey. But the king replied, let our generals cease drilling and return to camp. As for us, we have no wish to come down and inspect the troops. Thereupon Sun Tzu said, the king is only fond of words, and cannot translate them into deeds. After that, Holu saw that Sun Tzu was one who knew how to handle an army, and appointed him general. In the west, Sun Tzu defeated the Chu state, and forced his way into Ying, the capital. To the north, he put fear into the states of Qi and Jin, and spread his fame abroad amongst the feudal princes. And Sun Tzu shared in the might of the king.
Although the story is apocryphal, and Sun Tzu's dates around 540 to perhaps 464 BCE, as well as his authorship of the art of war are in dispute, the events here described echo the tone of the book. The expendability of individual life in the interest of discipline and absolute authority seems unnecessarily cruel, and many modern translators and commentators are quick to suggest that these elements were meant to be tempered by more humane Confucian or Taoist principles. The fact remains, however, that the 13 chapters are about war. This is not a book of general philosophy, but rather a professional manual. It was meant to be available only to a select few, a kind of secret society of generals and kings, and not to the public at large. The book's influence spread slowly to Japan during the 8th century of the Common Era, and from there throughout Asia and into Russia, where it formed the basis of military thought for centuries. It was completely unknown in the West until 1772, when J.J.M. Amiot, a Jesuit missionary to Peking, published his interpretation of the art of war in Paris. Amiot's work was well received and widely circulated, and was published again in an anthology in 1782. Legend has it that Napoleon read Sun Tzu, and this may have been the edition. The first English translation by Captain E.F. Calthrop, RFA, did not appear until 1905, and the Lionel Giles a variety of Chinese sources. Several of those cited are considered Sun Tzu's formal commentators. Among the most prominent are the 3rd century general and military
Mirrors don't become all-knowing by
the
themselves.
8th century tactician Li Chuan. Du Yu, whose commentaries were culled from his monumental encyclopedic treatise on the Chinese Constitution, and the poets Du Mu and Mei Yao Chen. Their commentaries are augmented by quotes from other Chinese writers and a handful of more modern Western personalities, including the 17th century French military leader Marshal Grouret and American generals Stonewall Jackson and Colin Powell. It is popular today to think of the art of war as a practical guidebook for any number of activities that require strategy, from sports and normal business affairs to affairs of the heart. And it can be just that, provided that you are willing to see the world in which you live and work as a network of actual and potential combat zones, where the stakes are high, and struggle is the primary mode of being, where no one is to be trusted, and survival depends on unconditional victory. War, then, becomes not merely a metaphor for the conflicts of everyday life, but a state of mind. Like the Oriental martial arts, the art of war emphasizes adaptability and flow, grounding the work firmly in those elements of the Chinese tradition of subtle, universal order known to us through the Book of Changes and texts like Lao Tzu's Tao Te Ching. The very first constant factor discussed in Chapter 1 is the Tao. This is most often translated as moral influence, or the moral law, as the right way, or simply the way. It is the cosmic cycle of energy rotation and transformation, the flow of all things natural. It is the dynamic that informs the path of least resistance. I have called it the Force, as much for its appropriateness in a military context as for its popular sense, thanks to George Lucas, of a natural, universal energy with which one seeks alignment. Personality, and politics. Give away as little as possible about ourselves. All action needs, therefore, to be built upon the shifting sands of deceit and deliberate obfuscation, our motives and intentions hidden even from our own side. In this, Sun Tzu laid the groundwork for all future espionage systems. Sun Tzu places great emphasis on the importance of detail, and illustrations abound in statistical terms that seem of little use to us today. After all, the costs of waging war have certainly changed. Chariots, armor, cooking pots, and other ancient implements are no longer the measures they once were. Cost and gain, however, are still key issues, and these details provide us with a keen sense of proportion, always of vital importance to the Chinese. Perhaps most important to remember are one commentator's suggestion that warlike precepts are not to be applied in peacetime, and Sun Tzu's own insistence that the best way of waging war is not to fight at all. This second is not a pacifist statement, but simply a truth about the costs of war. It is then the reader's or listener's moral prerogative to decide whether circumstances warrant engaging in war, whether there is indeed an enemy, whether the cost of the battle will be worth the prize, and whether we are willing to risk all to achieve victory.
To hear the answer, we must listen both within ourselves and without. To the thousands of signals the natural world provides, we must listen to the Tao. We must attend the Force.
Lao Tzu said, "For heaven and earth, undefined, yet complete, formless, standing alone, unchanging, reaching everywhere, it is the mother of all things. I do not know its name. I call it the Force. Upon further reflection, I name it the Great. Because it is great, it is in constant flow. Passing on, it becomes distant. Then, it returns. Therefore, the Force is great. Heaven is great. Earth is great. The King is also great. There are 4 great powers in the universe. The King is one of them. Man takes his law from the earth. Earth takes its law from heaven. Heaven takes its law from the Force. The law of the Force is to be what it is." Chapter 1. Laying Plans. An introduction to the 5 constant factors, the 7 considerations, deception, and calculation. Sun Tzu said, "The art of war is of vital importance to the state. It is a matter of life and death, a road either to safety or to ruin. Hence, it is a subject for study that can on no account be neglected. The art of war is governed by 5 constant factors, all of which need to be